It started in the most unremarkable way, which is why it took me so long to notice that something was wrong. I was standing in the kitchen early in the morning. Before the light had fully come in, the room felt unfinished, like the day hadn't decided whether to begin yet. The floor was cold under my feet. I remember that clearly because I kept shifting my weight from one foot to the other, not for any practical reason, just because standing still felt slightly uncomfortable. The kettle was heating, making that low, impatient sound it makes right before it boils, and I was staring at the countertop as if there was something there I was supposed to see. Nothing dramatic happened. No surge of insight, no emotional wave. Just a faint sense that the air was heavier than it should be. I picked up my phone without thinking, and then put it back down. I reached for a mug and stopped halfway. There was a strange delay between the intention and the action, as if something inside me hesitated before allowing my body to move. I noticed it, but only enough to feel mildly annoyed. I told myself I was tired. I told myself this was what stillness felt like when you stopped being distracted, but the discomfort didn't go away. It sat quietly in my chest, not painful, not sharp, just present, like a room you didn't remember entering. I leaned against the counter and waited for the kettle to click off. When it did, the sound was louder than it should have been, and it startled me. My shoulders tensed. My breath caught for a second. That reaction surprised me more than the noise itself. I had been calm, hadn't I? Awake, centered, beyond this kind of reflex. That was the first crack, though I didn't call it that then. It felt more like embarrassment, a subtle irritation with myself for reacting at all. I poured the water too quickly and spilled some on my hand. The heat stung, but only slightly. I barely reacted. I watched the skin redden and felt oddly detached from it, as if the sensation belonged to someone else. That detachment used to feel like progress, proof that I wasn't identified with the body, with reflex, with sensation. Standing there, steam rising from the mug, I waited for a familiar sense of quiet clarity to return. It usually did, that sense of being slightly above the moment, watching it rather than being inside it. But this time, there was only emptiness where that clarity was supposed to be. Not peaceful emptiness, not spaciousness, just a hollow pause. I took a sip of the tea. It tasted thin, like it always did, but suddenly that thinness stood out. I remember thinking, almost automatically, that this was fine, that this was what simplicity felt like. Nothing extra, nothing added. Still, something felt off. I stood there longer than necessary, holding the mug with both hands, letting the heat sink into my palms. I told myself to stay present. I told myself this was a test. I told myself not to reach for meaning too quickly. The words moved through my mind smoothly, well practiced, reassuring in their familiarity. And yet the room felt quiet in a way that wasn't soothing. It felt vacant. A few minutes later, sitting at the small table by the window, the feeling returned again. Same shape, same weight. I looked outside at the street below. A car passed. Someone walked their dog. Ordinary life unfolding, indifferent to whatever was happening inside me. That indifference felt sharper than usual, almost isolating. I noticed my chest tighten slightly, the way it does right before sadness. But the sadness never came. There was just a tightening, suspended, unresolved. I stayed with it, because that's what I believed I was supposed to do. I stayed until the tea went cold. Later that day, the same sensation came back while I was walking. The pavement felt too solid under my feet. The rhythm of my steps felt mechanical. I was aware of my breath, of the swing of my arms, of the space between thoughts. All the markers I had learned to associate with awareness were there, but there was no warmth in them. I paused at a crosswalk and waited for the light to change. The waiting stretched. I felt strangely disconnected from the urgency of movement around me. People shifted, glanced at their phones, adjusted their bags. I stood still, watching, feeling nothing rise inside me in response. No curiosity, no irritation, no ease either. Just the same quiet hollow. When the light changed, I crossed with everyone else, but it felt like imitation rather than participation, as if I were remembering how a person moves through the world instead of actually moving through it. That night, lying in bed, the feeling returned one last time. The room was dark, The ceiling fan made its soft, repetitive sound. I focused on my breath, waiting for the familiar sense of spacious calm to settle in. It didn't. Instead, the emptiness spread slightly wider, not dramatic enough to scare me, not gentle enough to comfort me. It stayed unresolved, like a question that wasn't asking to be answered, only acknowledged. I fell asleep without understanding why I felt so quietly unsettled. The belief didn't arrive all at once. It grew slowly, the way habits do, through repetition and relief. At first, it was just a phrase I heard and recognized immediately, like something I had been trying to say my whole life. The idea that I wasn't my thoughts, that I could step back, observe, loosen the grip. When I tried it for the first time, there was a rush of ease, a sense of space where there had been pressure. That ease felt like confirmation. I remember sitting alone one evening, years earlier, watching my thoughts drift by without engaging them. A worry surfaced, then faded. An old memory appeared, then dissolved. I felt light, almost buoyant. I smiled to myself without realizing it. This was it. I thought this was what people meant. Over time, that moment became a reference point. Whenever life felt heavy, I returned to it mentally, recreating the posture of observation, and often it worked. The heaviness softened, the edges blurred. I felt capable, in control. Friends noticed a change before I did. They told me I seemed calmer, more grounded, less reactive. I accepted those observations quietly, letting them reinforce what I already suspected, that something fundamental had shifted. When conflict arose, I practiced not taking them personally. When emotions surged, I labeled them and let them pass. When uncertainty appeared, I told myself it was just the mind grasping for control. The language became familiar, internalized, almost automatic. There were moments when the belief felt not just true, but necessary. During stressful conversations, I leaned on it like a railing. During loneliness, it gave me distance from longing. During confusion, it gave me a sense of being above confusion rather than inside it. I remember sitting across from someone I cared about while they spoke with visible frustration. Their voice was tight. Their words came out sharp. I felt my own chest tighten in response. But I noticed it quickly and pulled back. I watched the sensation instead of engaging it. I nodded calmly. I stayed composed. Later, alone, I felt proud of that composure. I told myself this was growth, that I was no longer pulled into emotional turbulence, that I was free. The belief settled into my daily life in subtle ways, in the way I paused before responding, in the way I corrected myself internally whenever a strong reaction arose, in the way I reassured myself that discomfort was just another passing state. I repeated certain phrases silently, not as affirmations, but as reminders. This isn't real. This will pass. Stay aware. Don't identify. Each time they worked, the belief strengthened. There were moments when the belief was challenged, of course. Sudden grief, unexpected anger, deep fatigue. But even then, the belief offered a framework. I told myself awakening wasn't about feeling good. That discomfort was part of the process. That emptiness was just another layer dissolving. Others seemed to agree. In conversations, people nodded knowingly when I spoke about letting go, about seeing through illusion, about not needing fulfillment from the world. Their recognition felt validating. Even if I didn't linger on it consciously, I began to trust the belief more than my immediate experience. When something felt flat or distant, I assumed that meant I was no longer attached. When emotions dulled, I called it equanimity. When joy felt muted, I told myself that depth was quieter than excitement. The belief followed me everywhere. In silence, in conversation, in solitude. It was there when I woke up and there when I fell asleep. Not loud, not insistent. Just steady. Looking back, I can see how convincing it was because it offered relief without demanding much. It didn't require vulnerability. It didn't require admitting confusion. It didn't ask me to stay with raw emotion longer than necessary. It promised freedom through distance. And for a long time, that promise felt fulfilled. The first signs of resistance were easy to dismiss because they didn't arrive as pain. They arrived as mild irritation, as restlessness that didn't have a clear target, as moments when familiar practices no longer produce the same sense of ease. I remember sitting quietly one afternoon, doing exactly what I had done countless times before, watching the breath, noticing thoughts arise and fade. The body felt still, the room was quiet, and yet I felt impatient. The impatience surprised me. I noticed it immediately and labeled it. The way I always did. I told myself it was just another sensation, but it didn't dissolve. It lingered, humming faintly beneath the surface. I adjusted my posture. I deepened my breath. I returned to observation with more effort this time. Still, the restlessness remained. Afterward, I told myself nothing was wrong. That progress wasn't linear. That some days were just like this. But the same thing happened again the next week, and the week after that. Small cracks appeared in everyday interactions. Someone would speak to me with warmth, and I would respond politely but without resonance. Laughter felt delayed, like an echo rather than a response. I noticed people pausing slightly after I spoke, as if something hadn't landed. One evening, a friend looked at me quietly and said, "You feel far away lately." The comment wasn't accusatory, just observant. I smiled and reassured them that everything was fine, that I was just going through a quieter phase. They nodded, but the look lingered, a subtle confusion I didn't know how to address. Later, alone, I replayed the conversation. I searched for defensiveness in myself and found none. Instead, there was a faint dullness, a sense that the words had passed by without really touching me. I returned to my explanations. I told myself that depth could look like distance from the outside, that not everyone would understand. Still, the discomfort returned. There were moments when I noticed an urge to feel something more strongly, a fleeting desire for intensity. Immediately, I corrected myself. I reminded myself that craving experience was another form of attachment. That wanting feeling was just the ego asserting itself. But the urge didn't disappear. It resurfaced quietly, especially in moments that used to feel alive. Music sounded flatter. Conversations felt thinner. Even silence, which I once cherished, felt vacant rather than rich. I doubled down without realizing it. I spent more time alone. I reduced stimulation. I told myself I was integrating, letting things settle, but the emptiness didn't soften. It sharpened. The most unsettling moments were the ones where I expected joy. Seeing someone I loved, completing something meaningful, standing in a place that once moved me. I would feel a brief flicker of recognition, followed almost immediately by a drop into neutrality. Not sadness, not peace, just absence. Each time, I told myself this was maturity, that I was no longer dependent on highs. That freedom was quieter than I had imagined. And yet, at night, lying in bed, the same question kept forming without words. Not a thought, exactly, more like a pressure behind the ribs. Something is missing. I resisted that feeling instinctively. I didn't give it language. I didn't let it expand. I returned to familiar mental ground as quickly as possible. One evening, during a tense conversation, the resistance became more visible. Someone expressed hurt, and instead of feeling defensive or empathetic, I felt detached. I responded calmly, carefully, choosing words that felt measured. Afterward, they said softly, "I don't feel met." That sentence stayed with me, not because it hurt, but because it didn't. I noticed a lack of reaction and felt unsettled by that absence. Later, alone, the old explanations felt thinner. The phrases didn't soothe in the same way. Observation felt mechanical. Distance felt less like freedom and more like avoidance. Still, I didn't let the belief collapse. I told myself this was just another layer dissolving, another test. I waited for clarity to return. It didn't. There was no moment when everything fell apart. Things simply stopped holding. The kitchen scene returned again one morning. Same light, same cold floor, same kettle. This time, I noticed how automatic my movements were, how little intention there was behind them. I wasn't observing anymore. I was drifting. The belief that once felt supportive now felt thin, like fabric worn too often. I reached for out of habit, but it didn't offer resistance. It didn't hold my weight. I began to notice how often I used distance to manage discomfort, how quickly I stepped back, whenever something felt too close. It wasn't a realization so much as a noticing, repeated over days, over moments. Walking, I felt the pavement again, solid and indifferent. Crossing the same street, I felt the same hollowness. But this time I didn't explain it away. I didn't name it. I let it sit unresolved. That was new. Conversations felt different when I stopped correcting my internal responses. When I let irritation stay a little longer. When I didn't immediately translate emotion into observation. It was uncomfortable, not dramatic, just raw in a quiet way. Old scenes replayed themselves with new texture. The friend who said I felt far away. The moments of muted joy. The evenings of flat silence. I didn't reinterpret them. I just remembered them differently. Identity loosened without being replaced by anything else. I didn't feel less like a self. I felt less certain about what the self was doing. There were days when I felt lost in ordinary tasks. Washing dishes felt heavier. Waiting felt longer. I noticed how often I relied on internal narration to give shape to experience. Now, without that narration, things felt exposed. I sat in silence more often, not because it felt good, but because distraction no longer worked. The emptiness remained, but it shifted. It felt less like a void and more like an open wound that hadn't been acknowledged. Still, I avoided conclusions. I avoided naming what was happening. I didn't want to replace one belief with another. I stayed in not knowing longer than felt reasonable. Some days, I missed the old certainty deeply. I missed the sense of being ahead of something, of having arrived. That longing surprised me. I watched it arise without commentary. Other days, I felt relief at not having to maintain that posture anymore. The relief was brief, fragile. Nothing resolved. Nothing clarified. The collapse was quiet enough that no one else noticed. Life continued in small ways. I still made tea in the morning, still walked the same streets, still spoke to the same people. From the outside, nothing had changed. Inside, things felt less defined. There were moments of presence that didn't feel elevated or special. Just moments where I noticed my hands moving, my breath changing, my body responding. No commentary followed. Sometimes, the old urge to step back arose, to label, to distance. I noticed it without judgment. Sometimes I followed it. Sometimes I didn't. There was no rule. I felt uncertainty more often now, not as anxiety, but as openness without reassurance. It wasn't comfortable, but it felt honest. In conversations, I noticed myself listening differently, less composed, more affected, sometimes awkwardly so. I didn't correct it. Joy appeared occasionally, quietly, without explanation. Sadness did too. Neither stayed long. Neither defined anything. I stopped waiting for freedom to feel a certain way. Some days, the emptiness returned. When it did, I didn't rush to interpret it. I let it be part of the day, like weather. Other days, it receded without announcement. Nothing was resolved. Nothing needed to be. I still feel the pull of certainty sometimes. The desire to name what this all means. To package it into something clean. I don't follow that pull anymore. I live with the unfinishedness. And that for now is enough.